I ordered a dancer from the bar, great body, nice pecs, and an even better ass. In the private room, I stared at his handsome face, feeling a little nervous. So, you want to loosen up with some of the good stuff? I've got some right here. The dancer's expression changed. You have some? I nodded eagerly. I do. What's your style? Something strong or something a little more mellow? He took a deep breath. Let's go with strong. You got it, I said happily. 5 minutes later, I burst back into the room, only to have the barrel of a gun pressed to my forehead. The dancer stared at me, his eyes dark and intense. You're under arrest for possession of illegal narcotics. We have the goods and the suspect. Anything you want to say? Clutching my prized bottle of 82 Chateau Lafite, I was completely stunned. Cheers? The word hung in the air, and the room fell silent. I stared at the gun. He stared at the wine. We both gritted our teeth. After a solid 10 seconds, the dancer forced the words out. This is your good stuff? Of course it is. I said, terrified and indignant. This is an 82 Lafite. Go look up the price. His handsome face twisted into a scowl. Stop messing with me. What does this have to do with strong or mellow? I felt even more wronged. Officer, have you never had wine before? If booze isn't strong, what is? Here, try it. I carefully offered the bottle to him. I'm not lying, officer. You'll know as soon as you have a taste. Stay still. He took a deep breath. I ask, you answer. Not one more word than necessary. I nodded obediently. He stared at me. Name, occupation, and reason for being here. Spill it. I pouted. Judy, recent college grad, here to hire a dancer and have some fun. Look, officer, I'm just a regular person. The worst you can say is that I come to bars a little too often. I'm not a bad guy. Is that so? The officer narrowed his eyes. Since you're such a regular here, are you aware of any other prohibited substances in this bar besides alcohol and tobacco? Something potent, addictive, and frequently abused? I thought for 2 seconds, then gasped. You know what? There was. Outside the room, the club was a chaotic mess of noise and people. I led the officer through the crowd, carefully making our way toward the back. Where are we going? He sounded suspicious. You'd better not be trying to pull a fast one. I wouldn't dare. The feeling of the gun barrel against my lower back was all too real. Officer, could you please not press it against me like that? I'm seriously scared it might go off. He snorted. It won't, as long as you behave. I shut my mouth and kept leading the way. After a few turns that took us around the dance floor, I led him deeper into the building until we passed a final corner. I stopped in front of a black door. This is it. His face was grim. He jerked his chin at me. Open it. Okay, I said. Wait. He let out a breath. Never mind. Stand next to me. In light of your cooperation, I'll do my best to protect you if anything happens. Huh? I scratched my head. I mean, it shouldn't be that dangerous, right? He was firm. The people running this kind of business are ruthless. They don't care about human life. I immediately ducked behind him. Then you open it. He took a quiet breath, and in the next second, he kicked the black metal door open and raised his gun. Freeze, what the hell is this place? Where else could it be? The back kitchen. I peeked out from behind him and sighed in relief at the empty room. See? I told you it wouldn't be that dangerous. It's not dinner time, so no one's back here. His face was ashen. Are you messing with me? No, I swear. I waved my hands frantically, trying to explain. Officer, you don't understand. This bar also serves food, and their specialty is this spicy ramen. But this ramen, it's insanely good. Like, you miss it after 1 day, you crave it after 2, and by day 3, you're climbing the walls. So I'm guessing they're putting something in that ramen broth. Maybe that illegal stuff you were talking about. And this wasn't just some wild guess. A friend of mine used to work here part-time and personally saw the chef adding some unknown seasoning to the sauce pot. After I finished, I glanced at the officer's face. He looked a little green. My eyes widened. Officer, don't tell me you've ordered their spicy ramen before? I'll order you. He squeezed his eyes shut, then opened them. Fine. Go on. Find it. I want to see what kind of prohibited substance you can find. At his word, I eagerly rolled up my sleeves and threw open the lid of a nearby freezer. And then, my gaze froze. What is it? Did you find your precious prohibited substance? The officer let out a cold laugh, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Tell me, which harmful food additive is it? My hand trembled, and the freezer lid crashed to the side, revealing the twisted face of a person inside. There's no harmful additive. But there is a human body. 20 minutes later, the dimly lit bar was flooded with bright lights. The wail of police sirens cut through the night. I sat in the private room, wrapped in the officer's jacket, my hands still shaking uncontrollably. Are you okay? The officer came in and, seeing my state, pursed his lips. Sorry. I didn't expect this to happen either. I gave a weak wave of my hand. He walked closer and placed something on the table in front of me. It was a hot milk tea and some pastries. I heard having something sweet helps after a shock. He rubbed his nose. Consider it my apology for being so reckless tonight. I mumbled a thanks and reached for a straw, but my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't tear the wrapper open. He couldn't watch anymore, so he tore it open, inserted the straw, and held it to my lips. Drink. I slowly lowered my head, leaned toward his hand, and had just managed to take a sip when another officer pushed the door open. Mike, you done here? So the undercover cop's name was Mike Cole. It was a nice name. Mike handed the tea to me, making sure I had a firm grip before turning around. What's up? His colleague reported, we've identified the victim. It's the bar owner. The primary crime scene seems to be the kitchen. We found traces of blood. I had actually recognized the victim's contorted face the moment I opened the freezer, but hearing it confirmed still made my heart sink. Mike noticed my expression and looked down at me. Not feeling well? I bit my lip. No, it's just, I knew the owner pretty well. Mike patted my shoulder comfortingly. But the other officer said, Ms. Judy, could you tell us exactly how well you knew the owner? Mike frowned. What do you mean? The officer held up an evidence bag. We found this red string bracelet on the victim. According to other bar employees, the last time they saw this bracelet, it was on you, Ms. Judy. Ms. Judy, can you explain why your belongings were found on the deceased? WTF? That old creep stole my stuff? Wait, no. I instinctively touched my wrist and paused. But my red string bracelet is right here on my hand. Mike grabbed my wrist. Let me see. Comparing the two strings, the difference was obvious. The charm on your bracelet is a gold nugget, but the one on the owner is a flower, Mike said. Is there some meaning to that? I looked closely, confirmed both bracelets came from the same place, and explained, I got it from a little spiritual shop on the outskirts of town. I was wishing for wealth, and I guess the owner was wishing for love. Oh, wait a minute. Something else occurred to me, and I frowned. But the owner has a girlfriend. They've been together for a long time. Why would he be wishing for new love? Mike suggested, maybe it was a matching set for couples. I shook my head. No, this is a wishing bracelet. Once your wish comes true, you're supposed to take it off. Hearing this, Mike glanced at my bracelet again. So your gold nugget. I flushed. Shut up. Way to twist the knife. I haven't struck it rich yet, okay? Mike pressed his lips together to hide a smile and told his colleague to try and contact the owner's girlfriend. Do you have any other clues to offer? Mike asked me again. The kitchen has no cameras, and the owner was a person of interest in one of our major investigations. His death complicates things. A person of interest? I blinked. Is it related to that prohibited substance you were so concerned about? Mike scoffed. Yes. So think hard, and stop trying to connect everything to the kitchen and the spicy ramen. But his words made me realize something strange. From what I know, the owner was a serious germaphobe. Mike paused. So why would he die in the kitchen? I was confused. For what reason would a germaphobe go into a greasy, dirty kitchen? As far as I could remember, the owner, that picky neat freak, had never set foot in the back kitchen. He usually stayed in his office on the second floor or, at most, sat near the bar on the first floor. When had he ever gone into the kitchen? My question stumped Mike, too. On the drive to my place, he was still pinching his chin, lost in thought. I nudged him. The light's green. Mike snapped out of it and hit the gas as the car behind us honked. Still thinking about the case? I yawned. You need to balance work and rest, officer. Mike glanced at me, frowning slightly. What are you going to do when you get home? Sleep. I was bewildered. What else? The sun's almost up. Mike clicked his tongue and poked me in my ticklish spot. Don't sleep. Stay alert. I grabbed his hand. What are you doing? Mike glanced at me. Don't you know you're not supposed to sleep within 8 hours of a major shock? It can mess with your head. I was speechless. Was that actually a thing? Then what should I do? I looked him up and down suggestively. It'll take something stimulating to keep me awake, officer. Mike glanced at me, his eyes darkening a bit. And what do you consider stimulating? My gaze landed on his chest, and a slow smile spread across my face. Well, obviously. Before I could finish, my phone rang, interrupting my flirty line. I slumped back into my seat, annoyed. Mike let out the breath he'd been holding, answered the call, and his expression grew serious. He cranked the steering wheel and headed back the way we came. Where are we going? I asked. Mike gave me a meaningful look. You wanted stimulating? You got it. We just got a tip. Someone saw a suspicious person who might be the killer. And based on the description, it seems they look a lot like you. Oh, great. Just great. First, I clear my name as a drug dealer, and now I'm a murder suspect. I sat in the passenger seat with my arms crossed, so exasperated I had to laugh. What's so funny? Mike looked at me, his voice casual. Not going to explain? Though I was internally groaning, I put on a pitiful expression, leaning over the center console to play the victim. Officer, other people might not know, but you do. I spent the whole night bonding with you. When would I have had time to kill someone? Mike snorted. The autopsy report isn't back yet. Until the time of death is confirmed, you're not completely in the clear. However, I don't think you're the killer. My eyes lit up at that, and I feigned being touched. Officer. I knew all that bonding wasn't for nothing. Mike scoffed. Cut it out. The reason I don't think you're the killer is because the fatal wound was to the chest, a single, precise stab to the heart. Very few ordinary people can do that. I couldn't help but gasp. A single stab? That's brutal. Sounds like more than just a typical grudge. But the bar owner was a decent guy. I'd never heard of him having any major enemies. We drove back to the precinct. After we got out, I followed Mike to an interrogation room, where I soon saw the person who provided the tip. It was Chef Tony from the kitchen. Seriously, Tony? You're not a very good friend. You're framing me? Seeing a familiar face, I was instantly furious. I order your damn spicy ramen every single week, and you're telling them I'm the killer? Chef Tony was shocked and waved his hands frantically. I didn't. I just said I saw a tall, thin girl with long hair. I never said it was you. I laughed, exasperated. He might as well have given them my driver's license photo. His description is too vague. Half the women out there fit that profile, Mike reassured me. We're pulling the security footage from the hallway closest to the kitchen. Hopefully, we can get some clues. Just then, a junior officer ran over. Sir. The autopsy report is in. The time of death has been confirmed as between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. My heart sank. I hadn't hired Mike until after that. Which meant I had no alibi. And forensics found a partial fingerprint on the victim's collar. The young officer gestured to me and Chef Tony. The captain says we need to collect fingerprints from all relevant personnel for comparison. Mike nodded and looked at me. Come on, let's get your prints done first. The fingerprinting was quick, and the results would be ready in an hour at most. I sat outside the lab waiting while Mike bought me a sandwich and some water. This will have to do for now. The cafeteria doesn't open for another half hour. I thanked him and took it, but only opened the water for a sip. What's wrong? Mike, who had been standing beside me, bent down to look at my face. Worried the results won't be in your favor? I shook my head and yawned. Too tired. No appetite. Mike smiled and gently ruffled my hair. You know, you're surprisingly carefree. Anyone else listed as a suspect would be a nervous wreck, but here you are, getting sleepy. His touch just made me drowsier. I squinted. Well, you're here, so what do I have to be anxious about? Mike's hand paused for a moment. I was pointing a gun at you just 3 hours ago. The fact that you can still trust me like this is pretty amazing. I couldn't help but look him up and down, my gaze lingering on his muscular chest for a second. Pointing a gun at me was your bad for not believing I was innocent. But I'm different. I have very high standards. Saying your principles follow a pretty face is what you call high standards? Mike couldn't help but laugh. So I guess that means I'll just have to do my best not to disappoint your principles? He sat down next to me, and the warmth from his body seemed to seep through my clothes. My mouth suddenly felt dry, and I twisted the cap off my water bottle for another sip. It's getting colder. You should drink less cold water, Mike said, placing his hand on my bottle. If you're really that tired, stand up and walk around. Once the 8 hours are up, you can sleep as much as you want. I'll be fine. I yawned again, accidentally knocking my sandwich to the floor. I instinctively bent over to pick it up, only to collide with Mike, who had bent down at the same time. And my face landed squarely, perfectly, and without any deviation, right in his chest. Holy crap. The texture. Judy. Mike froze, then immediately, clumsily, pulled me away. Where are you aiming? But my mind had already gone blank. So firm, so soft, so, Were you doing that on purpose? Mike's accusation stopped abruptly. He stared at my face, his movements becoming even more frantic. Stop staring at me. You have a nosebleed. With this much heat, I mean, on a day this dry, isn't a nosebleed totally normal? Don't move. Mike stood in front of me, pressing a cold water bottle to my forehead, then gritted his teeth. And don't look where you're not supposed to. I felt wronged. I'm just looking straight ahead. Mike took a shallow breath, and the contours of his chest became even more defined. Wow. You're really packing, officer. I subconsciously swallowed. Judy. Mike ground his teeth for a second, then suddenly shoved his ice-cold fingers onto the back of my neck. Whoa, damn it. A jolt shot through me, and I sprang up, my head smacking right into his chin. With a dull thud, I clutched my head, and he clutched his chin. We both crumpled to the floor in pain. The results are, Officer Cole, what are you two doing? The lab door opened, and a technician in a white coat walked out. Seeing our position, he looked slightly shocked and cautiously asked, "Is this some new kind of law enforcement takedown technique?" His voice sounded familiar. Wincing, I looked up at the short-haired, bespectacled technician. A moment later, I was stunned. Lily? The technician was my old college classmate. Lily was just as surprised to see me. "Judy? What are you doing here?" "Wait," she said, looking from me to Mike's pained expression, her tone growing serious. "Did you get into trouble? Confess and you'll get a lighter sentence." I waved my hand dismissively and told her to give us the results first. "How did the fingerprint comparison go?" "It wasn't me, right?" Lily shook her head. "Nope." I breathed a sigh of relief. Before I could gloat at Mike, Lily continued, "To be precise, none of the prints we were sent matched." Mike ignored the pain in his chin, his brow furrowing. "Are you sure?" Lily nodded. "I may be an intern, but I'm not going to mess up a basic fingerprint comparison." Mike's frown deepened. He tapped me on the head. "Wait here. I need to report this." I clutched my head. My head still really hurts. Mike chuckled at that, then took my wrist and lightly smacked his own chin with my hand. "Now we're even." His chin had a bit of stubble, which felt scratchy and tingly against my palm. My fingers curled instinctively, their tips brushing against the edge of his lips. A flash of moist warmth, and it was gone. Ahem, earth to Judy. Lily waved a hand in front of my face. "He's already a mile away." I snapped back to reality, feeling a bit embarrassed. I cleared my throat and changed the subject. "Look at you, Lily, all successful. Working at the city police department and everything." Lily waved it off. "Hardly. I'm just an intern at the forensic center. Basically outsourced." She looked curious. "Is there another big case?" Now that was something I could gossip about. I threw an arm around her shoulder. "You haven't heard? The owner of that bar where you used to work part-time, he's dead." Lily was shocked. "What? But he was a nice guy. How did he die?" I sighed. "I know, right? And he died in the kitchen. There are no cameras back there, so finding the killer is like looking for a needle in a haystack." Lily thought for a moment. "You know, the last time I worked there during summer break, I happened to see the owner arguing with his girlfriend. I think someone cheated. Anyway, it was a huge fight, and she said some pretty nasty things to him." The mention of a girlfriend immediately made me think of the red bracelet on the owner's wrist. Could it be that he and his girlfriend broke up, so he got the bracelet to find someone new? We walked and chatted. Just as we left the forensic center, Mike came striding toward us, not looking pleased. "What's wrong?" Watching him stop in front of me, I had a bad feeling. "Did something happen?" Mike stared at me, his dark eyes sharp. "We've reviewed all the bar's security footage. We found the suspicious person Chef Tony was talking about. In terms of body shape and clothing, she looks a lot like you. Judy, I think you owe me an explanation." I'd wondered just how similar this person could be. But when I was brought into the office and saw the security footage, I was completely floored. Those jeans, that floral print hoodie, that wavy hair, it was me. The camera was in a hallway near the dance floor, about 10 or 12 feet from the kitchen. Plus, the person was wearing a hat, deliberately obscuring their face, making it almost impossible to see them clearly. Chef Tony was called in to watch the footage too. He pointed at the figure and nodded. Yep, that's her. It was around 9 p.m. I just unloaded a shipment and was out back having a smoke when I saw this woman heading toward the kitchen." Mike frowned. "Can just anyone walk into the kitchen? Why didn't you stop her?" Chef Tony glanced at me, then gestured at my clothes with a pout. "Well, I thought she was you. You're a regular, and you know the owner. I figured she was heading to the wine cellar next to the kitchen to get one of her prepaid bottles." Mike looked at me. What were you doing between 9 and 10 p.m.? He'd asked me this before the fingerprinting, and I was exasperated. You can ask me 100 times, and my answer will be the same. I was wandering around the bar district. I wasn't killing anyone, and no, I don't have a witness. Mike's brow was tightly furrowed. He stared at me for a few seconds, then turned to the officer at the computer. Isolate every frame with this woman in it. Zoom in, slow it down, and play it again. I was taken aback, looking at him in surprise. Are you? If that woman isn't you, then we have to find the differences. Mike scanned me from head to toe, then turned back to the screen. Even identical twins aren't completely the same. If someone is imitating you, there has to be a flaw. Hearing his calm voice, I took a breath and stared hard at the figure on the screen. The more I looked, the more something felt off. The few-second clip was played over and over until everyone's eyes were blurring. Suddenly, I clapped my hands. Ah! That's not me. Mike immediately turned to me. How can you prove it? I paused, feeling a little embarrassed as I rubbed my nose. Proving it here would be a little mortifying. Seeing his confused look, I gathered my courage, grabbed his wrist, and pulled him out of the office. But, I can show you in private. Since I was going to a bar, I obviously wasn't dressed conservatively. A crop top hoodie and jeans, stylish but chilly. Mike had kept his jacket draped over me because he was worried I was cold. Now, I pulled him into an empty break room, threw off the jacket, and started to pull down my pants. Judy. Mike's pupils contracted. He lunged forward and grabbed my hands, his jaw tight. What are you doing? I struggled against him. What do you think I'm doing? Proving my innocence. That doesn't mean you can seduce a police officer. A vein throbbed on Mike's forehead. Do not take off your pants. What is he even talking about? He had both my hands pinned, so I could only headbutt his chin. Let go. This isn't the time for seduction. I'm really trying to clear my name. Mike looked skeptical. Really? I nodded frantically and, as his grip loosened, quickly yanked my waistband down. Judy. Oh, stop yelling. Just look. Mike squeezed his eyes shut. No way. As a police officer, I absolutely will not. He talks too much. I lunged forward and pried his eyelids open. I need you to look at the tattoo on my lower back. Mike froze, then cautiously opened his eyes. I pointed to a spot on my lower back, near my hip, where there was a black tattoo of thorny roses. I was burned by boiling water when I was a kid, and it left a huge scar. A while back, I decided to cover it up, so I got this rose tattoo on a whim. Mike's righteous demeanor vanished as he leaned down for a closer look. Doesn't your tattoo show when you wear jeans? I pulled my pants back up and snapped my fingers at him. That's the key. The me in the video tripped on a rug in the corner and twisted her ankle. I recalled the footage and mimicked the ankle twist motion. The fabric of my shirt and jeans immediately pulled, revealing a sliver of the rose tattoo. But the me in the video had a completely bare lower back. Confirming the suspect in the video wasn't me, both Mike and I breathed a sigh of relief. I found it funny. Why are you so nervous? Mike draped his jacket back over my shoulders. Glad I won't have to visit you in prison. I secretly rolled my eyes. As I straightened up, I couldn't help but hiss in pain. Mike instinctively steadied me. What's wrong? Did you twist your back? No. I frowned, feeling around behind me. Something in the lining of your jacket just poked me. Mike's hand slipped under the jacket. Where? As I fumbled around, my hand brushed against his fingers. A warm sensation spread through my palm, and in the next second, he caught my hand, pressing the back of it against my waist. Here? Mike asked softly. My mind went blank. I turned and looked into his dark eyes. My heart felt like it was about to leap out of my chest. My lips moved a few times before I managed to get the words out. I think. Where is that bitch? A sudden roar echoed down the hall, and the break room door was thrown open. A woman in sky-high heels stormed in, her eyes locking onto me with a fierce glare. She raised her hand to slap me. It was you, you slut. You killed him, didn't you? I wasn't about to just stand there and take it. I instinctively stepped back as Mike swiftly wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me out of the path of the woman's swinging hand. Hey, who the hell are you? What gives you the right to hit people? I was furious at being attacked for no reason. If Mike hadn't been holding me back, I would have gone right up and given her a piece of my mind. You have the nerve to ask who I am? The woman seethed. Where was this thick skin when you were seducing another woman's man? What? I was so angry I laughed. Who's seducing anyone? I just met my dream guy last night, we just barely held hands, and I haven't even gotten a kiss yet. Who did I seduce? The moment the words left my mouth, I felt Mike's arm tighten around my waist. Don't say things like that. His words reminded me. I broke free from his embrace, cupped his handsome face, and pushed it forward. Here, you tell me. Is this your man? The woman paused. No. My anger flared up again. Then who did I seduce? He's the only one I've tried to seduce. Mike's face turned bright red. Judy. I waved him back, telling him not to interrupt my performance, and continued my face-off with the woman. Go on, tell me who your man is. I'll hire AP. To track him down. When I find him and the woman he was cheating with, I'll skin them both alive. Seeing my explosive reaction, which didn't exactly scream guilty party caught in the act, the woman's tone softened. You don't have to. He's already paid the price. I calmed down a bit. What do you mean? The woman smoothed her hair, her eyes downcast. My last name is Brendan. I'm Leo's girlfriend. Leo was the bar owner. I was speechless. A few seconds later, I managed to croak out, I'm sorry for your loss. Ms. Brendan shook her head, her expression cold. I'm not sad. Leo betrayed our relationship and cheated on me with another woman. He got what he deserved. I didn't know what to say and looked helplessly at Mike. Mike pulled me to his side and finally spoke. Ms. Brendan, you came into the precinct screaming and ready to fight, as if you were certain the other woman was here. How did you know? Ms. Brendan hesitated, then frowned. I heard it from the bar staff. They said the police took away a young woman who was a suspect, it had to be his mistress. Mike narrowed his eyes. Why are you so sure the other woman would kill him? Ms. Brendan sneered. Why else? For money. I heard Leo wrote that slut into his will. Isn't that enough of a motive for her? Mike remained non-committal and had another officer take the woman for a fingerprint comparison. Once the room was quiet again, I looked at Mike. Do you think Ms. Brendan is a suspect? Mike nodded slightly, his gaze falling on me. Don't you think she looks a lot like you? I was stunned. Similar body type, similar hairstyle, and clothes are easy to imitate, Mike said, his eyes narrowing. Judging by her attitude toward Leo just now, calling it resentment would be an understatement. Is it possible she killed him and then tried to frame the other woman? I followed his train of thought and gasped. And since I knew the owner well and we both had red bracelets, oh my God, no wonder she thought I was the other woman. Mike let out a soft laugh at that, his voice playful. Of course you're not the other woman. After all, someone just admitted to seducing me. As he spoke, the smile in his dark eyes deepened. Judy, was my jacket really poking you? As he said it, my face flushed bright red. I started rubbing the back of the jacket frantically, trying to sound tough. Of course it was poking me. Feel it yourself if you don't believe me. There must be a tag or something in here, it keeps jabbing me. Mike raised an eyebrow and actually reached out. All right, I'll feel it. My heart pounded faster as he got closer. Just before his hand reached my lower back, I couldn't take it anymore and backed down. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't poking me the whole time, just once. Mike's hand hovered by my waist for a few seconds before he clicked his tongue and slowly pulled it back. Fine. I glanced at his face. Why did he look a little disappointed? After a moment's thought, I suddenly grabbed his hand and, ignoring his confused look, pressed it to my waist. Here, I said generously. Go ahead, touch it. Judy. Mike looked like he was about to catch fire. He snatched his hand back and even took a few steps away. You're really... I blinked. Didn't you want to touch it a second ago? You seemed upset when I backed down. His face was beet red. Well, you can't just be so direct about it. I raised an eyebrow, stepped closer, and smiled. So, you admit it. You wanted to touch my waist just now. Mike looked like he was about to steam. He opened and closed his mouth but couldn't get a word out. I ignored his embarrassment and pressed on. Since I'm being so generous, shouldn't Officer Cole return the favor? Mike managed to get a word out. What? My gaze slowly drifted downward, from his face all the way down, but before it got too far, my chin was suddenly lifted. Mike held my chin with the back of his hand, his ears red as he tried to look fierce. Still looking down there? My eyes lingered on his abs. This is fine too, I guess, I said with a hint of regret. I held out my hand, wiggled my fingers in front of his abs, and looked up at him with an innocent smile. I was so generous. Shouldn't Officer Cole return the favor? So, can I touch them? I thought he'd just get redder, but to my surprise, he actually agreed. His jaw was tight. Fine. Go ahead. He was being that easy. I was stunned for a second, but my hand was already moving, pressing against his stomach. Through his shirt, I could feel the warmth of his skin. With every breath he took, the lines of his muscles became more defined. Oh my God, this feels amazing. I was screaming internally but tried to stay calm on the outside. It's just okay. Just okay? Mike narrowed his eyes. What, you felt better? I paused, then shook my head. No. He looked displeased and took half a step closer. Why did you pause? Were you reminiscing about someone else's touch? I grinned and pinched his cheek. Nope. I was enjoying your annoyed expression. Mike was at a loss for words and quickly looked away. I wasn't. Knock, knock. The break room door was rapped on twice. An officer's voice called out, "We've got news from the lab." Mike immediately pulled his face away from my hand, his own face flushed as he smoothed out the wrinkles on his shirt. Coming. Since it was official business, I knew I shouldn't interfere. I gave his abs one last, longing look and asked, "What news?" Mike didn't hide it. I had them send everything from the bar's kitchen to the lab for analysis. Like you said, Leo was a huge germaphobe. He wouldn't have gone into a kitchen that dirty for a meal. That leaves two possibilities: he was looking for someone or something. If he was looking for someone, he could have just called them to meet somewhere cleaner. He didn't have to set foot in the kitchen. So. I finished his sentence. So, he must have gone to the kitchen to find something. Something that couldn't easily be removed from the kitchen? Mike nodded slightly. But what couldn't be easily removed from a kitchen? A fridge? A freezer? Pots and pans? Mike opened the door and started walking out. So now we're going to find out what dirty little secrets that kitchen was hiding. TSK, don't tell me they really were putting something in the spicy ramen? Chef Tony, you've failed your profession. I was worried the whole way there. Mike glanced at me, his look meaningful. So tense. Don't tell me, you have some treasure hidden in that kitchen? I nudged him. What are you talking about? I'm worried about my own health. Do you think I should get a drug test or something? What if there really was something illegal in that ramen? Mike couldn't help but laugh. Do you know how much that stuff costs? You think he's adding a couple grams to your $5 bowl of ramen? Is he running a charity? It was sarcastic, but he had a point. I relaxed a little but still stepped on his foot. If you're going to comfort someone, just comfort them. Cut the snarky comments. Mike faked a hiss of pain. You're going to break my toes. I snorted. That's fine, as long as nothing else breaks. Mike's expression flickered through several emotions before he finally grabbed the back of my neck and told me to walk properly and shut up. In the lab, a technician immediately approached Mike. We found something, he said concisely. It's in the seasonings. Mike frowned. The seasonings? All of them? The technician nodded, then shook his head. The ones that were already open aren't a big deal. Just some extra food additives. It's illegal, but not deadly. But the unopened ones. He brought out a few bags of what looked like MSG and salt, opened them, and poured the contents out for Mike to see. The stuff inside these isn't just seasoning. I looked at the granules. To the naked eye, they looked no different from regular salt. But Mike's face changed. He took the lab report, his expression growing darker by the second. Just as I thought. These seasoning packets don't contain salt. It's drugs. My heart leaped into my throat. If the seasonings were tainted, the chef had to know. That meant. Mike looked up and waved at the officer who had followed us. Tell the interrogation room the chef, Tony, is our guy. Mike and his team immediately brought Chef Tony in for questioning, but he denied everything, especially the murder. I was unloading a shipment. Chef Tony kept insisting he was innocent. I was busy until after 10 p.m. When would I have had time to kill anyone? Mike's face was grim. Then how do you explain the seasonings in the kitchen? Tony tried to argue. I'm not the only one who goes in and out of the kitchen. Regulars like Ms. Judy are in and out all the time. Maybe one of those rich people brought it in and I'm taking the fall. Watching from the other side of the glass, I gritted my teeth. That bastard was still trying to drag me into this. No matter how they questioned him, Chef Tony just kept repeating, I don't know, and demanding a lawyer. After a sleepless night, Mike had a splitting headache. He had Tony temporarily detained and stepped out for some air. When I came back from the cafeteria with breakfast, Mike was sitting in the hallway, staring into space, looking completely drained. Hungry? I dangled a bag of steamed buns in front of him. Want some? Mike snapped out of it. Yeah. He took the buns and looked at me. I'll take you home in a bit. You've been running around all night. I couldn't help but ruffle his hair. You look like your brain is about to short-circuit. You should rest a bit before getting back to work. Mike gave a listless and sat there nibbling on a bun like a sad, droopy-eared dog. It was so cute I couldn't resist. I pretended to casually ruffle his hair again. When he didn't react, I snuck in another pat. It wasn't until I was about to go for a third time that Mike, having finished his bun, finally looked up. First time, second time, but not a third. You really think I can't feel that? I gave him a sheepish smile. Just wanted to cheer you up. Mike snorted, clearly not buying it. I regretfully pulled my hand back. After a few seconds of silence, Mike's feigned impatient voice broke the quiet. Weren't you going to cheer me up? Why'd you stop? Just a couple of pats. You call that cheering up? Mike, you emotionally constipated, closet romantic. If you hadn't run into a direct person like me, you'd probably die single. During the lunch break, Mike drove me home. On the way, he warned me, be careful for the next few days. Call me anytime if something happens. I have a feeling there's more to this case. No kidding. The thought of that woman who looked just like me still sent a shiver down my spine. Chef Tony, a big guy standing at 6 feet, definitely couldn't pass for a woman. So was the woman in the video his accomplice, or just some innocent bystander Tony decided to frame? The car pulled into my neighborhood. Mike looked around, a little surprised. The rent in this complex can't be cheap. You just graduated, right? Is your salary enough? I rubbed my nose and chuckled. Well, my family's got my back. They bought me a place before I even graduated. Mike let out a low sigh. You're putting a lot of pressure on me. I blinked, pretending not to understand. What pressure? Nothing. The car stopped downstairs. Mike turned to look at me and smiled. You said your principles follow a pretty face, right? In that case, I'm feeling pretty confident. I couldn't help but laugh. Are you trying to seduce me? As a good citizen, I have to say no to such improper temptations. Mike was surprisingly calm. It's fine. We have plenty of time. I'll get you eventually. My heart skipped a beat. I looked up and met his dark eyes. In an instant, my heartbeat became loud and chaotic, like a frantic drum solo. I instinctively looked away, murmuring, well, maybe not that eventually. Mike laughed, his hands resting on the steering wheel as he looked at me, his eyes crinkling. I look forward to it. His gaze made me so flustered that I hurriedly tried to open the car door, but it wouldn't budge. I looked back at him, confused. Why is the door locked? Mike stared at me for a long moment, a dark intensity swirling in his eyes. But in the end, he just shook his head with a smile and pressed the unlock button. It's nothing. Go get some rest. I was silent for 2 seconds. As he looked down, I suddenly reached out, my fingertips brushing past his lips. Then I immediately threw the door open and bolted. I'm heading up. Ignoring the deep look in his eyes, I smiled and waved. Thanks for the ride, officer. Without waiting for a response, I jogged up to my building. My phone vibrated twice. It was a message from Mike, sounding both demanding and a little hurt. Judy, why do you always flirt and run? I giggled for a second. Before I could reply, a call came in. It was Lily. I had completely forgotten we'd made plans for dinner. I quickly answered. Judy, have you thought about what you want for dinner? I checked the time. I could still catch a nap and make it. How about that hot pot place near our old campus? Lily agreed. See you tonight, then. After hanging up, I sent a message to Mike to appease him and let him know my plans, then went to shower and rest. At 7 p.m., I arrived at the hot pot restaurant on time. Lily was already waiting in a private room. Seeing me, she sighed. You haven't changed a bit. Still so thin and beautiful. I laughed. Girl, it's only been 3 months since we graduated. How much could I have changed? You, on the other hand, look like you've lost a lot of weight. Thanks for your concern, Missy. Lily smiled, handing me the tablet. Order away, Missy. Lily and I weren't in the same major in college, but we were in the same club and got along well. I was happy to see her doing well in her life and career. After dinner, it was almost 9 p.m. As we strolled out of the restaurant, Lily asked, How are you getting back? Want a ride? I glanced at the car keys in her hand, raised an eyebrow, and was about to answer when a car horn honked nearby. I looked toward the sound and smiled. It's okay, my ride's here. Lily looked over, a teasing smile on her face. Well, that trip to the precinct wasn't for nothing. Looks like someone's falling in love. I cleared my throat and waved her off. Gotta go. I jogged over to the car and watched as the person got out. I grinned. Officer Cole, what brings you here? Am I a suspect again? Mike stood with his arms crossed, giving me a meaningful look. Not exactly. I'm here to collect a debt. I played dumb. What debt? Mike took 2 steps forward, draped his jacket over my shoulders, and let his fingertips brush against my chin. A love debt. I burst out laughing. You're such a dork. His eyes were also filled with laughter. He was about to say something when his phone rang. He glanced down, and his expression changed. "It's from the precinct." As he answered the call, the laughter in his eyes vanished. After hanging up, he looked down at me, his gaze heavy. "Something's happened. Leo's girlfriend, Anna Brendan. She's dead." I was shocked. "What? How?" "Mike told me to get in the car first. We were supposed to hold her at the precinct for questioning after collecting her fingerprints this morning. But she said she had an important document to sign, so we had to let her go. We were going to notify her once the results came back. But when the results came back this afternoon, the prints didn't match, and we couldn't get in touch with her. It wasn't until just now that her assistant called the police, saying she was found dead at home." I instinctively asked, "'Cause of death?" Mike glanced at me. "Poison. It looks like a suicide." "Suicide?" I couldn't believe it. With the way she was acting this morning, ready to tear me apart, how could she possibly kill herself? Mike's eyes were dark. Based on the initial crime scene investigation, there were no signs of forced entry. The first and last person to enter her apartment was the assistant who called it in. With another death, any romantic mood between me and Mike vanished. After dropping me off at home, he had to rush to the new crime scene. "Be safe," he told me. "There's something strange about both of these cases. You need to let me know if anything happens." I nodded, watching as he drove away. After getting home and taking a shower, I sat on my bed, my mind racing. Chef Tony had a clear alibi and witness for the time between 9 o'clock and 10 p.m., so he couldn't have killed the bar owner. Anna Brendan had the opportunity, but what reason would she have to commit suicide by poison? And then there was the woman in the security footage who looked so much like me. If that was Anna, did she kill herself out of guilt after Chef Tony saw her commit the murder? But hadn't she already disguised herself as me to frame me? Thinking about this, I suddenly paused. What if the person trying to frame me wasn't Anna, but another woman? After a brief mental storm, I froze. A thought struck me, and I scrambled out of bed, ran to the living room, and started rummaging through my purse. Soon, from a hidden pocket, I pulled out a small baggie filled with a white powder that looked like salt. So that was it. That's how it was. Just as the realization hit me, there was a sudden knock on my door. Mike's voice came from outside. "Judy, open the door." His sudden voice made me jump. I quickly went to open the door. "You should be resting." Outside the door, Mike's voice cut off abruptly. His gaze fell on the small baggie in my hand, and his expression shifted from anxious to grave. "What is that?" I realized what he was looking at and quickly tossed the bag onto the table. "It's not mine. Someone put it in my bag." Mike didn't say anything. The door closed behind him, casting a shadow that made his face hard to read. "Really? You can search my apartment if you don't believe me. You won't find anything else like this," I explained frantically. Mike looked at me for a long moment, then let out a breath and stepped forward, gently cupping my face. "I know. Don't be so nervous." I grumbled, "I'm about to be framed as a drug dealer. How can I not be nervous?" Then I asked, "Why are you here?" Mike explained, "We found the source of the poison at Anna Brendan's place. It was in a milk tea she ordered. There was a pinprick in the sealed lid. She didn't kill herself. She was murdered." My heart sank. Although the news wasn't a complete surprise, it still felt awful. People connected to the case are dying one after another. "I called you, but you didn't answer. I was afraid something might have happened to you, so I rushed over," Mike said. Hearing this, I quickly checked my phone, feeling apologetic. It died. Auto shutdown. Mike ruffled my hair. "As long as you're okay. Now, let's talk about this bag. What's the deal with it?" I looked at the small bag of powder and asked him, "Can you tell what it is? Is it drugs?" Mike held up the bag, frowning. It looks like it, but we'll need to test it to be sure. You said someone put this in your bag. Was it? He stopped mid-sentence, as if a thought had just struck him. We looked at each other. After a few seconds, Mike spoke in a low voice, "The lab tech?" I sighed. Yes. It was Lily. Lily was gone. Sitting in the police car, I listened to Mike's furious voice on the phone and tried to comfort him. If she dared to put that in my bag, she must have planned her escape route long ago. The only mistake was mine for not discovering it sooner. Mike sighed. Good thing she was just an intern at the forensic center. Otherwise, the whole department would be disgraced for having a traitor in our ranks. But now that we have a suspect, it should be easier to get Chef Tony to talk, Mike said. We're about to wrap up and come down. You stay in the car and don't move, you hear me? I nodded. After hanging up, my phone vibrated again. I thought it was Mike with more instructions, but it was a picture message. The moment the image loaded, my eyes widened in shock. The photo was of the hallway outside Lily's apartment. The utility box was open, and inside, instead of a meter, were long, stick-like objects that looked like explosives. Guess how many cops 20 pounds of ANFO can kill? Don't try anything funny. I can see your every move. Get out of the car now. Walk over to the package lockers. I took a shallow breath, my fingers tapping on the car door as I thought for a few seconds. Then I opened the door and said to the officer on watch with me, I need to use the restroom. The officer looked at me and nodded. Don't go far. I forced a smile. I know. The package lockers in Lily's apartment complex were in a secluded area. It had been raining for the past couple of days, and the night was cold and nearly deserted. I walked toward the lockers under my umbrella, my mind racing to piece everything together. My guess was that Lily had discovered or become involved in Chef Tony's drug dealing when she was working part-time at the bar, and that's how she made her first big score. Her current lifestyle was proof. In college, Lily's family wasn't well off, she even needed financial aid. But now she was driving a Porsche. Mike had said drug trafficking was extremely profitable, which matched her lavish spending. Then there was the owner's death. I think he must have discovered what Lily and the chef were up to, and they killed him when he was looking for evidence. Anna Brendan's death was likely related. She must have found out something that made Lily and her partner decide she couldn't be left alive. But there was one thing I couldn't figure out, the woman in the security footage who looked so much like me. That person had to be Lily in disguise, but was she trying to imitate me or Anna Brendan? Imitating Anna made some sense, since she could frame her for the murder. But if she was imitating me, why? What grudge did she have against me that was so deep she would go to such lengths to frame me as the killer? My mind was a chaotic mess. I soon reached the package lockers. Lily was standing under a dim streetlight, her face pale but smiling. I stared at her, and after a few seconds, I was the first to speak. Are you sick? Lily was visibly taken aback, then she laughed. How strange. The first words of concern come from the person I hate the most. Yes, I'm dying, she said flatly. Terminal cancer. I don't have much time left. No wonder she had lost so much weight. I couldn't help but say, you made so much money from dealing drugs. Didn't you ever think about going to the hospital? Made money? Lily's smile faded until it was gone. Do you know how much money my family spent on me my entire life? I calculated it. Less than $10,000. But do you know how much money I've sent home since I was old enough to work? Over 50,000, maybe more. They're always so greedy. As long as they're alive, I can never live for myself. Do you understand? Looking at her cold face, I couldn't stop a shiver from running down my spine. Judy, you know what? I've hated you since the first day I met you. Lily stood under the streetlight, the light making her look both pure white and deeply shadowed. You had good grades, a good family, you were pretty and popular. Everyone in the club flocked around you. When I was with you, I wasn't even the ugly duckling. I was just a speck of dust that no one could see. I tried to catch up to you at first. But no matter how much money I made, no matter how much I improved myself, you were always ahead of me." Lily gave a bitter laugh. "I thought about taking a shortcut, so I seduced that old creep, Leo. Even if I couldn't be his girlfriend right away, even if I was just his mistress, I was willing to do it as long as I got what I wanted. But then, of all places, I ran into you at the bar. A bottle of wine you opened on a whim in college was something I'd have to work part-time for half a year to afford. It was something Leo would never buy for me, no matter how many times I slept with him. Judy, your starting line was just too far ahead. I could never catch up." My lips moved, but I couldn't utter a single word of comfort. Later, I found out the people in the kitchen were dealing drugs. I knew it was a way to make money, and money is my favorite thing. Lily let out a slow breath, her expression twisting into a scaring snarl. Things were finally getting better. I was finally making more and more money. But then, I found out I had liver cancer. Terminal. Do you know what I was thinking the moment I got the pathology report? I wanted to kill people. A lot of people. My parents, my brother, Leo, and you. In the dim light, Lily's face was cold and ashen, her eyes glowing with a sinister light. So after Leo found out about the drug dealing, I immediately came up with a nearly perfect plan. I was going to kill him, and I was going to kill you. And even if you didn't die, I was going to drag you down from your high and mighty pedestal. Hearing this, my breath hitched. So you deliberately imitated me on camera, deliberately had Chef Tony give a vague description that sounded like me, all to frame me? Lily sneered. Yes. The plan was going perfectly. The police were focused on you. But then that woman, Anna, showed up at the precinct. I froze, suddenly understanding. Anna knew Leo was cheating, but she didn't know who the mistress was. She heard from the bar staff that the police had taken me in, so she assumed I was involved. But when she got to the precinct, she realized that wasn't it at all. Exactly. So unlucky. I was the one who did her fingerprinting, and she smelled a familiar perfume on me. It was the cologne Leo always wore. And as the ex-girlfriend and the owner, Anna naturally knew that Lily had worked at the bar part-time. She wasn't stupid, it wouldn't be hard to figure out who the real mistress was. So to keep from being exposed, you killed her? You poisoned her milk tea? I asked, my voice trembling. Lily sighed, feigning innocence. Before I killed anyone, I was always such a coward. I thought killing was this incredibly difficult thing. But you know what? Once you take that first step, you realize it's actually very simple. Sticking a knife into flesh is no different from slaughtering a pig. Injecting poison into milk tea is no different from poisoning a rat. Killing is so much easier than living. Lily stared at me from across the space between us. The air seemed to freeze into sharp icicles, so cold that I couldn't help but shiver. And now, it's your turn, Judy. Lily started to laugh, then lifted her oversized coat. The explosives weren't in the utility box. They were strapped to her body. I have no reason to kill those police officers, do I? They protect our country and do good things. I respect them. But I hate you, Judy. The nicer you are to me, the more you smile at me, the more I hate you. I hate you so much that, right this second, I want to die and take you with me. Almost as soon as she finished speaking, a sharp command rang out from behind me. Get down. I instinctively obeyed. A bullet silently cut through the night, followed by a deafening crack as it pierced her skull. The twisted expression on Lily's face hadn't yet set. Blood trickled down her cheeks, covering her vacant eyes. The moment she started to fall, I lunged forward and caught her body as it collapsed. Judy. Mike ran up from behind me. Let go. You. She's wearing a bomb. I choked out the words. I don't know if this type of explosive will detonate on impact. I have to catch her. Mike was instantly silenced. He put a hand on my shoulder as other officers rushed up, gently taking the weight of Lily's body. It's okay, it's over. You can let go now. Mike held me tightly, kissing my forehead. You did great. You did so great, baby. I listened, stunned. A few seconds later, my consciousness slowly returned. I sank into Mike's warm embrace and let out a sob. Half an hour later, Lily's body and the explosives were taken away. Once again, I was wrapped in Mike's jacket, holding a hot milk tea with trembling hands. Still shaken up? Seeing that my color had returned, Mike rolled up his sleeves to lecture me. You are unbelievably reckless. I told you to stay in the car, and you dared to go meet a criminal on your own? I tried to defend myself. I gave you a hint before I got out. I tapped out SOS in Morse code for that officer. And you're proud of that? Mike's eyes were blazing. You were lucky that kid knew a little about that stuff. What if he had been clueless? You would have died with her? Don't you realize that Lily was a complete lunatic? We just got word that she recently mailed her parents poison-cured meat. Her younger brother didn't survive, and her parents are still in the ICU. I was speechless, biting the straw of my tea and saying nothing. The air fell silent. As I sipped my tea, I suddenly felt like crying. I knew I had been reckless, but being yelled at like this right after a near-death experience really hurt. But before I could feel too sorry for myself, I heard a soft sigh. The next moment, I was pulled into a warm hug. You scared the hell out of me, Judy. Mike held me, his voice hoarse. Do you know how I felt when I got the message that you were in trouble? I felt like my someday was about to end before it even began. He held me so tight, but it felt safe. It won't. I haven't even successfully seduced you yet. I'm not ready to die. The moment I said that, Mike suddenly dipped his head and gave me a quick kiss on the lips, leaving me completely stunned. What was that for? Let's stop with the seducing, okay? He looked at me, his gaze direct and fiery. I need to make this official, fast. I won't feel safe until I can hold you in my arms for real. In that instant, all the fear and hurt vanished. I looked up into Mike's eyes and saw my own reflection clearly within them. You'd better not regret this, I said softly. I'm the type of person who commits. Once I grab on, I don't let go halfway. No regrets. Mike met my gaze, his eyes shining, a fiery passion burning in their depths. Actually, even if you hadn't tried to seduce me, I would have found a way to get close to you. Judy, the path you're on was never a one-way street. I listened, stunned for a moment, then curved my lips into a smile. I tilted my head up and gave Mike a long, gentle kiss. Maybe Lily was right. Living is 100 times harder than dying, than killing. But I would still choose this hard mode, because along the way, there are countless beautiful sights that death could never offer.